Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Conservative Revolt. And today I want to have a discussion about Republican politics here in Texas. And in particular, I'm referring to primary elections held here in the South Texas 34th Congressional District, beg your pardon. And these primary elections are headed by Mayra and Eric Flores. They bear no relation to one another. But yet, I wanted to touch on that, not only because I live locally in the area, and I want to somewhat clear some of the water, some of the attacks that are being heard against Mr. Flores, and kind of have a conversation voter to voter. Some of the things that interest me by living in the area interest you as well. Some of you listeners that live here locally. And when political campaigns will start resorting to attacks and then dragging out dirty laundry, that tends to rub me the wrong way, because I want you to attack the other not attack the other politicians, but challenge their ideas, their policies. That's what I want to see. I don't want to see their dirty laundry. I'm not voting for pastor. I'm voting for a politician to preside over public policy. Now, before I get into the attacks, let's get into a brief candidate profile. Eric Flores is somewhat of a newcomer to politics here in South Texas. I never heard of the name. So if I'm correct, leave it in the comments, straighten me out. But as far as I know, he's a newcomer. And this Republican primary, in my view, I see it as tight, because I cannot name you one specific Republican primary politician that's ran here in South Texas other than him. So I speak to his prominence. He's been endorsed by Donald Trump, our current president, and then been endorsed by a slew of people that I can't even mention. I don't really know who they are, but they're Republicans here in the state, and they mention him. They endorse him, rather. So Flores, he's a Army veteran, as posted in his webpage. He served in the border missions in leadership roles. He's been a prosecutor and led prosecutions against cartels. He's a father of two. Your typical generic politician, clean cut, looks good in a suit, great smile, no homo. And that's pretty much what you'll find in his website, so as far as his accolades, his qualifications to be our next, or to be nominated as the next congressman for the Republican Party here in Texas. And honestly, I don't know why his presence provokes an attack from her. And I'm referring to Mayra Flores and some of the allegations that she's made. She's essentially accusing him of being a fake conservative. That I guess he doesn't hold those values true to himself. And let's get into a little bit of a brief candidate profile on her as well. Mayra Flores, first Mexican-born woman to serve in Congress, and she rose to prominence by getting elected to Filemon Vela's vacant seat. Filemon Vela was a Rio Grande Valley politician in the Democratic side that retired mid-2022, and she got elected to the seat. She served 6 months in Congress. And if I'm going to say something about her attacking anybody or her making allegations, because she is sort of hit piece, I'll say this about people attacking her. 6 months in Congress is not a great body of work for anybody to reach any sort of conclusion on what she did or she didn't do in Congress. I know there was a political pact, I believe, around here. I can't recall the name specifically. And they ran a hit piece on her, calling her Mayra Mentiras and what have you. And I'm like, in what planet do 6 months constitute any sort of body of work? She got in, she got out. Then she subsequently ran for re-election, and she faced off against Vicente Gonzalez. I'll put the numbers for those who want exact numbers on the screen. And she lost in the 2024 election. And now this is her second bid for Congress in the Texas 34th Congressional District, running against, yet again, Vicente Gonzalez, if she gets out of the primary, because we're discussing the primary. So if she does that. So that's a brief little history on her body of work in politics. So now, here we are. the primaries, Republican primaries, and she's facing off. And let's get into what the allegations that she's making against Eric Flores. And essentially, she's alleging that he's a fake conservative. And the reason why she's saying this is because he served as a assistant U.S. attorney under the Biden administration. Now, I don't know if she's aware of this or her campaign's aware of this or she's trying to confuse the voters or what is the issue with that. But an assistant U.S. attorney does not get appointed by the president. His boss probably does, but he doesn't. So he essentially applied for a job, met the qualifications, went through the process, and he got the job. Like any other individual, myself included, I applied for a federal job in 2023, and I wasn't able to make the final interview, so I didn't get selected for the job. But using her, I guess, diluted attack, I would be a Democrat too. I mean, she didn't accuse him of being a Democrat, but she's essentially alleging that because he worked under the Biden administration, what does that got to do with anything, I might ask? Is she not aware that Biden didn't pick him? So that to me is just a silly hit piece. To me, it speaks more about you than it says anything about him. And that kind of soured me, those attacks. I think they're pretty ridiculous to hurdle such an attack on the man, when the man honestly just did not. He just applied for a job. You're essentially attacking him on getting a job. I find that pretty ridiculous. And the second one, this one really bothers me. This one really just kind of like sour me or more towards her. And I'm also going to talk about what she could be attacking. And this attack comes directly at his father, a man called Kino Flores, or I guess that was his nickname. His name, I'm trying to look him up real quick. What is his actual name? I think Kino was just like a nickname. Yeah, they call him Kino Flores, the Democrat admission. So this attack is against his father, and he was a Democrat state lawmaker that they called him Mr. 10% because he charged 10% on the corruption schemes that he was running. And I'm going to read to you specifically. A Travis County jury found South Texas lawmaker Kino Flores guilty of multiple counts of tampering with a government record and perjury in connection with omission Flores made on financial disclosure forms required to be filed by state elected officials. Accepted $40,000 in payments in exchange for favorable treatment on legislation between 2002 and 2004. Was known as Mr. 10% for his insistence on being paid 10% of the profits of companies made from the contracts he awarded them. Pressured the director of the Texas Commission on Environment. This guy pressured environmental quality to hire convicted felon Roel Benavides in 2003, then accepted improper benefits from Benavides in the form of property. Failed to report over $80,000 in income to the IRS in 2003, over $68,000 in 2004, $30,000 in 2005, and over $51,000 in 2005. Almost $92,000 in 2008. So quite a significant amount of money that he didn't disclose to the federal government. And he essentially ran a pay-to-play scheme, as from the information that I read you. Now, in this article that I read to you by Cut News, K-U-T, Cut News, Reliably Austin, so it's an Austin publication. In this article, and I'll put a link in the description box, bears no mention of Eric Flores. No mention whatsoever. None. As a matter of fact, if you read this article and you knew nothing about what she's alleging, or she brought this up about his father, you wouldn't even know they were related. This happened in 2010 when he was convicted. And I read you the dates when all this took place. Unless There's some information that we don't know that he was somewhat involved. He meaning Eric Flores, that he was involved in his father's dealings. What does that got to do with him? We're not voting him to be our pastor, to be on one of our teachers. Like nothing. He's running for Congress. He's going to be a policymaker. That's what I want him to be good at. Obviously, I don't want him to be corrupt, but just because somebody in his family made a mistake, and a lot of people in the area, a lot of politicians in the area run like that, what bearing does that have on him as a politician, as a person? As far as I know, and is with information given on his website, he bears no information, and I don't know why he doesn't come on and attack that. Maybe he doesn't want to validate foolishness like this, and I understand why. Just because he's quiet doesn't mean that he's guilty of anything. But I would have came back swinging. Me personally, I would have been like, you know what? That's not follow. That's not me. And it's a pretty low blow for you to bring out my family's dirty laundry to a political campaign that bears nothing on what's being discussed and what we're trying to get to as a political party. Like I said, that soured me. I don't know if it soured you guys. You can leave me a comment in the description box. We'll go back. We'll get into it back and forth. If it did sour you or it soured you against Eric Flores. To me, honestly speaking, we can't pick our family. He's not like he sat there and said, "Oh, I want my dad to be whoever." That's beyond our control. So honestly, that really soured me. And by me saying this, by no means I'm saying that she's a crappy person, because there's something admirable to her that I'll say this. And that's one of the reasons why I voted for her in the past. You're going to take somewhat of a personal toll in running for office. You're going to be attacked. People are going to try to dig up dirt on you. It's going to significantly impact your personal life, you running for Congress and you trying to make a difference, especially in an area that's been reliably blue. It is admirable for her to do that. So if I'm going to say not the bad, because I mean, it's politics. You can dig up dirt on your political rivals and air it. That's all politics. I'm speaking me as a voter, the conversation I'm having with my audience, voter to voter. To me, we should be focusing on policy, not dirty laundry. But whatever. It is admirable to me, the journey that she's embarked on, to be perfectly honest with you. Because like I said, there's a personal toll to everything we do in life. And I'm sure there's got to be a personal toll in her life. And her personal life is none of our business. But I'm sure there's things that she suffers. There's things that she goes through. I seen people have sent her pictures of her father fixing her campaign ads and billboards and stuff that people knock down, being stupid, being silly. And that's I mean, that's got to hurt her father, because I mean, I got a daughter. Somebody does that to my daughter, I'm gonna be fucking pissed. So by this, I'm not saying she's a bad person. I'm not attacking her personally. I don't know her. I don't know neither one of these kinds of things. I'm just making observations. So with that being said, I'm gonna jump into what she can attack. And to her defense, I'll say this. Oh, let me start by saying what she can attack. How vague Eric Flores' web page is. His campaign page is extremely vague when it comes to policy. Hers is not extremely full of detail, but she mentions things. And let me read to you some of the things that she's working on. Securing the border. And let's go point by point on this. The whole securing the border, now bringing that up, that's like in my opinion, that's like a non-issue right now. That's not a real issue. Trump's in there while the executive orders, the border is sealed. Nobody's getting released and nobody's coming across the lowest numbers in U.S. history. So to me, this is a non-argument. This isn't a real argument. Growing a stronger economy, especially in this area, we need better jobs. I feel we need more of a manufacturing industry here in this area due to low skill wage and what have you. But that's a separate subject. So she's working on growing a stronger economy, education freedom, protecting our kids from child trafficking, which is very important. Expand American energy. I agree with that 100%. Parental rights, affordable, accessible healthcare. That's a bigger issue with Obamacare, the subsidies, illegal immigrants. That's a whole other issue we're going to touch on. Fighting for our veterans and protecting our seniors. That's her campaign. That's her campaign page speaking on that. Now, let me get to exactly what I was talking about, what she can attack and what I mean by policy. When you go to his page, it leads off with veteran, prosecutor, and father. Great. I get involved. I love that. I love that. But you start endorsed by Donald Trump, stand up for South Texas, support President Trump's agenda, secure the border. Again, that's not a real argument. Support law enforcement. I think in this area, we don't have that defund the police movement. We don't have none of that foolishness going on in this area. I think everybody here loves the police. Advocate for our veterans. Defend the Second Amendment. Other than every time we have a school shooting, the Democrats, for the most part, right now, they're not worried about that right now. Ensure energy independence, kind of like this, safeguard senior benefits. So, to me, she has a bigger criteria. Not criteria. That's not the proper word for it. She has a bigger umbrella when she's willing to fight for. And his page is extremely vague when it comes to exactly how he's going to do these things. You can just look up and down, support our South Texas values and get involved, blah, 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 blah. Now, you can attack that. Like I said, to me, the securing the border is not a real argument. With Trump in there, what I want to see, what they should be talking about is what legislation, in what way am I going to enshrine the policy that President Trump has in place to keep the border sealed? Because that's got to be strike number one. You got to stop people from coming in before you're going to fix the mess that we already have in the interior of the United States. So to me, what legislation on day one are you going to craft that's going to forward the president's agenda? As he says here, support the President Trump's agenda. How? What legislations do you have in place to enshrine the things that Trump is doing now? The lack of specifics about it. And maybe they touched on it on, I think they had not a debate, but I saw them get together on social media. But not everybody can attend that. You can put it out there how specifically, hey, look, on day one, I'm gonna craft legislation that I'm gonna require X amount of Border Patrol agents on hand, not to be hired, not to be filled, not to be this. Then I'm also going to go up on the age limit to make sure we can meet the shortfall that we have of Border Patrol agents in the hiring. And I'm going to try to fast track the hiring as we're doing with ICE to ensure that the levels at the crossings of the border stay down. And then we're going to pass subsidies. And this is an example. I'm not saying this is the way it should be legislated. I'm not a legislator, but that's just the ideas that I'm kicking out. These are also, we can subsidize the state of Texas through our National Guard through federal subsidies to keep a certain troop level at the border, so we can make sure that the levels of crossings and apprehensions at the border stay to low records like they are today. So that's an example on things that he could be saying that she could be attacking. Policy. You attack policy. But to attack the man's father, that he was corrupt, this and that and the other, unless he was involved. Then the first one about him being an assistant U.S. attorney under Biden, and I'll put it all on the screen, all the attacks, her ex stuff that she's put. But unless he was involved, what do you do? You're accusing the man of getting a job? So public policy, or the lack thereof, or how vague his campaign page is, that's what you need to attack. Not foolishness like that. So me as a voter, and I hope you as a voter, that's what you want to see. You want to see people tackling the issues, energy independence, and that's big here in Texas because we produce a lot of that. So how is that going to benefit me? How the policies that are going to be put in place affect me negatively or positively? That's what we want to see out of our politics. That's what we should want to see in our politicians. And then she can also attack Vicente Gonzalez, the incumbent. This guy, his party cannot define what a woman is. Attack that. Hey, I'm the right person to take on the president's agenda. I'm the right person, even though I'm not getting all these endorsements like the new guy is. I'm the one that's facing him. I'm the one that came within striking distance of defeating him. I'm the one. This guy doesn't even speak out against his party when you have girls playing in men's sports. I mean, we don't have that kind of foolishness down here, but his party's all for that. He refuses to engage these communists and call them what they are. That's the line of attack. You can attack all that, but I just felt it was pointless. But man, that's my 2 cents into it. Whatever you guys think, put it in the comments. And I'll put the article to the conviction of his father in the description box. Thank you for your audience. And I'll catch you on the next one. Like and subscribe.